Welcome back, everybody. Today we're doing a deep dive into Tottenham's upcoming FA Cup match against Aston Villa. A bunch of you have been asking about this one and send over a whole stack of articles and match reports, so we're going to try to break it all down.
Yeah, it's a really interesting matchup, especially when you consider Tottenham's recent form. I mean, they've had some struggles lately, that big loss to Liverpool in the EFL Cup semifinal, and then they really struggled in the FA Cup against Tamworth.
Yeah, not the kind of momentum you want going into a big match like this.
Yep.
And to make things even tougher, they're facing an Aston Villa side that's been pretty unpredictable. So let's start with Tottenham. That Liverpool loss was rough. I mean, 4-1 in the second leg. Liverpool just completely dominated them.
Absolutely, and even though they managed to beat Brentford 2-0 in the Premier League, it wasn't a very convincing win. There were definitely moments where Tottenham looked really shaky. And then there's that FA Cup game against Tamworth. Needing extra time to beat a non-league team, it raises some real questions about their consistency.
So what does all this mean for their chances against Aston Villa? I mean, Tottenham generally has a pretty good record in the fourth round of the FA Cup, right?
Right. They've won 4 out of their last 5 in the fourth round. But you have to remember that one loss was last year to Manchester City. And that just shows you that anything can happen in the FA Cup, especially if you're not playing your best. And Tottenham, well, they haven't exactly been at their best lately.
Nope.
Yeah.
Definitely not. Plus, they have that massive injury list. I mean, it's basically a who's who of their starting lineup.
It's true. Their squad depth is really going to be tested in this one. Losing Richarlison is a huge blow. That calf injury he picked up against Liverpool, he'll be out for this match. It'll be interesting to see if Son Heung-min can step up and fill that goal-scoring void. He might have to play more centrally.
And with so many key players out, this could be a chance for some of Tottenham's younger players to get some minutes. There's that midfielder, Mikey Moore. A lot of people have been talking about him. I think he might get a chance to shine.
It's definitely possible. Postecoglou might have to get a little creative with his lineup. This could be Moore's moment to make an impact. Also worth keeping an eye on, Mathis Tell, the new signing. He came on for Richarlison in that Liverpool game. Maybe this is his chance to make his full debut. It's a real sink-or-swim situation. But those are the moments where you sometimes see those unexpected heroes emerge.
So Tottenham's dealing with a lot of injuries. But on the other side, Aston Villa's been busy in the transfer market. They brought in Marcus Rashford on loan from Manchester United.
Right, and the interesting thing about that is that Rashford didn't play for Manchester United in the third round of the FA Cup. So he's actually eligible to play for Villa in this match, although, given his lack of recent game time, he'll probably come off the bench.
Okay, and then they also signed Marco Asensio. He could be in line for his Aston Villa debut. But Axel Disasi, their other big January signing, is cup-tied.
Yeah, unfortunately, he won't be able to play.
Shifting gears a bit to Aston Villa's recent form, they got a pretty dramatic win against West Ham in the third round of the FA Cup, 2-1. Came from behind to get that victory.
Right.
But overall, their form has been up and down, only 2 wins in their last 6 across all competitions.
That's right. Although you have to admit that win against Celtic in the Champions League was pretty impressive. They really showed their attacking potential in that one.
Yeah, 4-2. But after big Champions League games like that, they seem to have a tendency to struggle in the Premier League.
Yeah, it's almost like they use up all their energy in Europe, and then they come out flat in their next league match.
Exactly like that 2-0 loss to Wolves
Yeah.
in their most recent Premier League game. Something to watch for in this match. Tottenham could try to take advantage of that.
Definitely something to keep an eye on.
So even though Tottenham's going through a rough patch, it sounds like Aston Villa might have some vulnerabilities as well.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And don't forget about the head-to-head record between these two teams. This is where things get really interesting for Tottenham fans. Remember, the last 2 times these teams met, Aston Villa won both of them. And not just by a goal or 2. They scored 4 goals against Tottenham each time.
Ouch, that's got to sting. Does that mean Tottenham's defense is going to have their hands full trying to contain Villa's attack?
It definitely suggests that. And we also have to factor in Aston Villa's home advantage. They haven't lost at Villa Park since October. A 10-game unbeaten streak across all competitions.
10 games. That's a fortress. But hold on, I read somewhere that they haven't kept a clean sheet in their last 6 home matches. Maybe Tottenham can exploit that, even with a weakened squad.
It's possible. It might be tough to beat at Villa Park, but they're not invincible. Now, Aston Villa also has some injury concerns of their own. Emery confirmed in his press conference that Watkins, Torres, Cash, Mings, and Barkley are all still out.
Oh, wow. So no Watkins. Well, who's going to lead the line for Villa then? Malin. Bailey. Could Asensio get the start up front?
That's the big question. We know Emery likes to play a certain way, but with all these injuries, he might have to adjust things a bit. This is why those pre-match press conferences and team news updates are so important. You really have to pay attention to that stuff.
It sounds like there's a lot to consider here. Both teams have their strengths and weaknesses. Both are dealing with injuries. There are going to be some really fascinating tactical battles to watch.
It's almost like both managers are playing chess, trying to anticipate each other's moves and counter them with the limited pieces they have available.
This match is going to be a real clash of styles, a test of resilience, and an opportunity for both teams to make a statement. I'm already excited for this one.
But before we get ahead of ourselves, let's take a closer look at those tactical battles you mentioned.
Yeah, let's dive into that. So let's talk about the midfield battle. Tottenham's going to try to control possession, but Villa's going to be compact and disciplined, trying to shut down those spaces between the lines. So it'll be interesting to see if Tottenham's midfielders can handle that pressure, especially with so many key players missing. And if Villa wins the ball back, they can hit Tottenham on the counter.
Right.
Especially with Rashford potentially coming off the bench.
Right. That's a real danger for Tottenham.
Yeah.
If Villa can transition quickly from defense to attack, they could really cause some problems.
And they've got the players to do it. Bailey.
Hmm.
And maybe even Asensio. They're both so fast and direct.
Exactly. Tottenham's defenders are going to have to be really careful. They can't afford to lose concentration for a second. Villa will punish any mistakes.
So a lot depends on Tottenham's ability to keep the ball and set the tempo. I think they can do it, even with a weakened midfield.
It's going to be tough. But they do have some quality players. I mean, Son Heung-min, he's a world-class attacker. He can create something out of nothing. And if Mikey Moore has a good game in midfield, they might be able to surprise people.
Yeah, but we can't forget about Villa's home advantage. They haven't lost at Villa Park since October. That crowd can really get behind them.
True. This is where the mental side of things comes into play. Tottenham can't let the atmosphere get to them. They have to stay focused, trust their abilities, and avoid those silly individual errors.
And let's not forget that Villa has some injury problems too. No Ollie Watkins. That's a big loss for them.
Absolutely. Watkins is a really important player for them. It'll be interesting to see who Emery goes with up front. Malin, Bailey, maybe even Asensio. Tottenham's defenders will have to be prepared for anything.
So many questions heading into this one. It's really hard to predict what's going to happen.
That's the beauty of the FA Cup. It's always so unpredictable. Two teams, both with something to prove, both dealing with injuries, the pressure's on.
A real clash of styles. Two really good managers. This is a match you don't want to miss.
It's going to be a great game. Moments of brilliance, moments of tension, maybe even some surprises.
All right, so as we wrap up this deep dive, let's talk predictions. What do you think?
Tough one. But if I had to pick a winner, I think I'd have to go with Aston Villa. Home advantage, their record against Tottenham, all of Tottenham's injuries. I think Villa has the slight edge.
Interesting. So you're leaning towards Villa, but you said slight edge. You'd think Tottenham still has a chance.
Oh, yeah, definitely. This is the FA Cup we're talking about. Anything can happen if Tottenham's young players play well. Or if Son Heung-min has one of those amazing games he's known for, Tottenham could definitely win.
Yeah, that would be something else. You know, coming into this deep dive, I wasn't really sure what to expect, but now I'm actually really excited for this game.
Me too. It's going to be a really interesting match. So many things to watch for.
So to sum it all up for everyone listening, we've done a deep dive into Tottenham's chances against Aston Villa in the FA Cup. We looked at their recent form, head-to-head record, injuries, tactical approaches.
Both teams have their strengths and weaknesses. Both are missing some key players. Both have reasons to be confident.
I think this match is going to come down to who wants it more, who can handle the pressure, and who can capitalize on those big moments.
It's those little moments that often make the difference in these FA Cup ties.
Exactly. So now that you've heard our analysis, we hope you'll watch the game with a more informed eye.
Yeah, notice those tactical details and think about all the individual battles happening within the match.
And of course, let us know what you think. Who do you think is going to win? Share your predictions with us.
We'd love to hear from you.
That's all for today's deep dive. We'll be back soon with another episode. Until then, keep diving deep and keep exploring.